The massive ship appeared in Earth's sky without warning. One moment the orbital monitors showed nothing unusual, and the next a vessel larger than anything humans had ever built hung silently above North America. John Miller was eating breakfast when his secure phone rang. As the head U.S. diplomat for unusual situations, he knew a call at 5:30 a.m. meant trouble. "Miller speaking," he answered, his fork still poised halfway to his mouth. "Sir, you need to come in right now," said the voice on the other end. "Something has arrived." 2 hours later, John stood in the White House Situation Room with 24 officials staring at the screens. The alien ship was beautiful in a strange way. It had a smooth silver surface with gentle curves that seemed to bend light around it. "What do we know?" asked the president. "Nothing yet," replied General Martinez. "It's not responding to any of our signals." As if hearing them, the ship suddenly released a smaller craft that descended toward Washington, D.C. Fighter jets scrambled to intercept it, but the craft simply passed through them as if they weren't there. "Do not fire," ordered the president. "I repeat, nobody fires." The craft landed on the National Mall. News helicopters showed a large crowd forming around it despite police attempts to keep people back. John watched as a section of the craft's hull simply disappeared, and a figure stepped out. The alien was tall, at least 8 feet, with a body like a praying mantis but standing upright. Its exoskeleton shimmered with colors that shifted as it moved. 4 arms ended in delicate hands with 3 fingers each. "Get me there now," John said. By the time John arrived at the mall with his security detail, the military had established a perimeter around the craft. The alien stood motionless, seemingly waiting. John approached the boundary line and identified himself to the commanding officer. "Sir, we can't guarantee your safety," the officer warned. "Then don't," John replied, ducking under the barrier. The alien turned its head as John approached. Its eyes were compound, like an insect's, reflecting John's image back at him dozens of times. "I am John Miller, diplomatic representative of Earth," he said, hoping the alien understood English. The alien's mandibles clicked together before it spoke in perfect, unaccented English. "I am Zextal, emissary of the Galactic Council. Your presence is required." John blinked in surprise. "My presence? Where?" "Not just you," the alien clarified. "Earth must send representatives to answer for your actions. The Council has convened a special tribunal." "What actions?" John asked, confused. "This is our first contact with alien life." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "That is what you believe. The Council has been observing Earth for centuries. Your recent technological advancements have triggered protocols." Before John could respond, another voice cut in. "What protocols exactly?" John turned to see Susan Wright approaching. She wore a rumpled lab coat over jeans, her gray-streaked hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. As America's leading astrophysicist, Susan had predicted the existence of alien civilizations decades ago, when everyone else laughed at her. "The protocols governing emerging species," Zextal answered. "Earth has crossed certain technological thresholds without proper oversight." "Oversight?" Susan asked sharply. "How could we have oversight when we didn't know you existed?" "Ignorance of law is not an exception to it," the alien responded. "The Council requires representatives within 7 rotations of your planet. 2 humans only. You will be provided transport." The alien extended one of its hands, revealing a small crystal disk. "This contains the coordinates and requirements. Failure to appear will be considered an admission of guilt." "Guilt of what?" John asked. "Unauthorized advancement," Zextal said. "The penalty is containment or extinction. Choose your representatives wisely." With that, the alien turned and re-entered its craft. The section that had disappeared reformed seamlessly, and the craft rose silently into the air. John looked at Susan, who was already examining the crystal disk. "Well," she said quietly, "I guess I was right all along. We're not alone." She looked up at John with worried eyes. "And apparently, we're in trouble." John nodded grimly. I'll tell the president we need to prepare for a trip. Above them, the smaller craft rejoined the mothership, and together they vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving behind a world forever changed. The journey to the Galactic Council station took 3 days in Earth time. John and Susan traveled in a small room inside the alien ship with no windows. They ate strange food that tasted like cardboard, but somehow left them feeling full and energized. Neither slept well. Do you think they'll listen to reason? Susan asked on the 3rd day. She sat cross-legged on her sleeping platform, scribbling notes on a paper pad she had brought. John sighed. I don't know. They didn't exactly start with diplomacy. The ship suddenly slowed. A section of wall became transparent, revealing their destination. Both humans gasped. The council station wasn't a ship or a space station as they had imagined. It was a ring around an entire star, a massive structure that captured the star's energy. Thousands of ships moved around it like bees around a hive. My God, Susan whispered. The engineering required to build that makes our problems worse, John finished. If they can build that, what chance do we have? Their transport ship docked at one of countless bays along the ring's inner surface. The door to their room opened, and Zextal entered. We have arrived. Follow me to the council chamber. They walked through curved hallways filled with aliens of every description. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that John's mind struggled to understand what he was seeing. Some floated in bubbles of liquid. Others seemed made of light or gas. Every alien they passed stopped to stare at them. Why are they looking at us like that? Susan asked Zextal. Humans are rare here, the alien replied. And your kind has a reputation. A reputation? John asked. How can we have a reputation when we just made first contact? Zextal's body made that strange laughing motion again. First official contact. They entered a massive chamber. Thousands of seats rose in circles around a central platform. Most seats were filled with aliens. Some sections had special environments, water tanks, high-pressure chambers, or fields of energy. Zextal led them to the central platform and left them there, exposed to the eyes of the entire assembly. A deep voice boomed throughout the chamber, speaking a language John didn't understand. Then a translation followed in English. The council recognizes the representatives of Earth. Step forward and be recognized. John and Susan stepped forward. A light shone down on them from above. I am Vorlex of the Vraxian Dominion, senior council member, said the voice. The light moved to illuminate a section of the chamber where a massive creature sat. It looked like a cross between an octopus and an elephant, with gray-blue skin and multiple limbs. Its eyes were large and black. The council has convened to address violations of Statute 7293. Unauthorized technological advancement by an unregistered species, Vorlex continued. How do you plead? John cleared his throat. Council Member Vorlex, with respect, we cannot plead to violations of laws we were never informed existed. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Ignorance is not a defense, Vorlex replied. Your species has developed quantum computing, begun experiments in faster-than-light communication, and created primitive artificial intelligence, all without council approval or oversight. We developed these technologies on our own, Susan interjected. They are the result of human innovation and hard work. More murmurs, louder this time. That is precisely the problem, said a new voice. A slender, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms stood up. I am Zeal of the Paraxian Commonwealth. Your species develops too quickly, too unpredictably. The Council exists to maintain balance and prevent chaos. By controlling who gets to advance and who doesn't, John asked. Precisely, Zeal answered without shame. New species must be guided. Their development managed. Humanity has advanced more in the last century than most species do in a millennium. You are dangerous. We have never threatened anyone beyond our planet, John argued. Yet, said Vorlex, The Council's predictive models show a 78% probability that unrestricted human advancement will lead to conflict with established species within 3 centuries. Susan stepped forward. You're punishing us for something we haven't done. We are preventing what you would inevitably do, Vorlex corrected. The Council proposes technology restriction, mandatory oversight, and limited travel privileges for Earth. The alternative is containment, a barrier around your solar system that would disable all advanced technology. John felt cold fear spread through him. Either option would cripple humanity's future. We request time to present our case, he said firmly. Granted, Vorlex replied. You have 3 cycles. But be warned, the Council rarely reverses its position. As guards led them away, Susan whispered to John, They've already decided. This isn't a trial. It's a sentencing. John paced their small quarters while Susan reviewed the data they had been given about Council laws. The room was comfortable enough, but clearly designed for non-humans. The chairs were too tall, the beds too short, and the lighting had a blue tint that made everything look cold. This is impossible, Susan said, rubbing her tired eyes. There are thousands of laws here. We could spend years studying them, and still not understand all the ways Earth supposedly broke the rules. We need help, John replied. Someone who knows how the Council works. A soft chime interrupted them. The door slid open, revealing a human man. He was tall with broad shoulders and a neatly trimmed beard. His clothes resembled a ship uniform with strange symbols on the collar. I heard Earth representatives were here. Thought you might need a friendly face, the man said with a slight smile. Name's Alan Carter. I captain a trade ship between Council worlds. John and Susan stared in shock. You're human, Susan finally said. But how? I was taken from Earth when I was 16. Alan explained, stepping inside as the door closed behind him. My fishing boat went down in a storm off the coast of Maine. I thought I was drowning. But I woke up on an alien research vessel. That was 23 years ago. And they just kept you? John asked in disbelief. Alan shrugged. They were studying humans. Eventually I learned enough to make myself useful. Now I transport goods between systems. The aliens think I'm an oddity, a pet who learned tricks. Can you help us? Susan asked. We're facing serious charges we don't understand. That's why I'm here, Alan said, lowering his voice. The official story isn't the whole truth. You need to know what you're really up against. He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. A faint hum filled the room. Privacy field, he explained. Now we can talk freely. Alan sat down and leaned forward. The Council isn't restricting Earth because you broke their rules. They're afraid of you. Afraid of humans? John asked. Several of the elder species have advanced predictive technologies, Alan explained. They've run simulations of humanity's development curve. The results terrify them. What did they see? Susan asked. That humans think differently. Most species advance in a straight line. They build on previous knowledge in predictable ways. Humans make mental leaps. You connect seemingly unrelated ideas and create something new. Your cognitive architecture is unique. Is that really so scary? John wondered. It is to them. Their simulations suggest that within 500 years, if left unrestricted, humans would surpass even the eldest Council races technologically. You'd rewrite the power balance that's existed for millennia. Susan leaned back, processing this information. So this isn't about protocol violations. It's deliberate suppression. Exactly, Alan confirmed. The technology embargo they're proposing isn't temporary. It's permanent. They want to keep humanity contained forever. John felt cold anger rising in his chest. They have no right. Rights don't matter here, Alan said grimly. Only power does. And right now, they have it all. So what can we do? Susan asked. I have a ship, Alan said. I can get one of you back to Earth with evidence of what the Council is planning. The other needs to stay and continue the diplomatic show. They'd notice if we both disappeared. John agreed. I'll stay. Susan should go. Susan started to protest, but John cut her off. You understand the technology better. If Earth needs to prepare defenses, you'd be more helpful. Alan nodded. There's a maintenance shutdown in 6 hours. Security will be reduced. We can get Susan to my ship then. What about you? Susan asked John. What will happen when they realize I'm gone? I'll tell them you got sick and needed medical attention. John said. I can buy you some time. Just make sure Earth is ready when they come. Alan stood and deactivated the privacy field. I'll come back for you when it's time. Be packed and ready. After he left, John and Susan looked at each other in silence. The magnitude of what they faced was overwhelming. Do you think Earth stands a chance? Susan finally asked. John looked at the massive ring structure visible through their window. I don't know, but I'd rather go down fighting than accept being caged. Susan nodded. I'll make sure they get the message. The council chamber hummed with low conversation as John stood alone on the central platform. He had spent the last 6 hours answering questions, making arguments, and trying to buy time. His throat was dry, and his legs ached from standing, but he kept his back straight. The council has deliberated, Vorlex announced, silencing the room. We have reviewed Earth's development and the evidence presented. Our decision is final. John felt sweat on his forehead, but didn't wipe it away. He hoped Susan and Alan had made it to the ship. Earth will be placed under Level 3 containment, Vorlex continued. A shield will surround your solar system, disabling all advanced technology and preventing space travel. This measure is for the safety of all council races. Murmurs of approval spread through the chamber. John noticed that not all aliens seemed pleased, however. Some smaller groups were silent, watching with what looked like concern. How long will this containment last? John asked, already knowing the answer. Until your species demonstrates the maturity to join galactic society under proper supervision, Vorlex replied. The Council will review your status in 500 cycles. 500 cycles meant nearly 700 Earth years. Generations of humans would live and die under alien control. And if we refuse? John asked, keeping his voice steady. Then the Council will authorize sterilization protocols, Zeal said coldly. Your civilization will be removed to preserve galactic stability. John took a deep breath. I request time to inform my government of your decision. Granted, Vorlex said. You have 1-day cycle. The containment fleet departs afterward. Guards led John back to his quarters. Once alone, he collapsed into a chair, his diplomatic mask finally falling away. The situation was worse than they had feared. Earth had mere days before the Council ships arrived to imprison humanity in their own solar system. He hoped Susan had made it safely away. It was their only chance. On Alan's ship, Susan clutched a railing as the vessel jumped to faster-than-light travel. The sensation was like being turned inside out and back again in an instant. Sorry about that, Alan said from the pilot's seat. First jump is always rough for newcomers. Susan steadied herself. How long until we reach Earth? 4 days, Alan replied. Half the time of the Council transport. My ship's small but fast. Susan moved to a console covered in alien text and images. Is this communication equipment? Alan nodded. But we can't risk a direct message. The Council monitors all transmissions. We don't need to send a message, Susan said. Just data. She pulled a small device from her pocket, a quantum entanglement transmitter she had secretly brought from Earth. It was experimental technology, exactly the kind the Council feared. This pairs with a receiver at Earth's Defense Initiative headquarters, she explained. It uses quantum entanglement. There's nothing for the Council to detect because the information doesn't travel through space. Alan looked impressed. No wonder they're scared of humans. Susan connected her device to Alan's communication system. We can send the technical specifications of the Council ships and shield technology. everything you've gathered over the years. Will it help? Ellen asked as she worked. It has to, Susan replied grimly. On Earth, Laura Bennett, director of the Defense Initiative, stared at the quantum receiver as it suddenly activated. Data streamed across her screen. Ship designs, weapon specifications, shield frequencies. It worked, she whispered, then turned to her team. Contact all division heads. Initiate Operation Firewall immediately. Back on the council station, John was awakened by alarms blaring through the corridors. He rushed to the window and saw ships moving in formation, a fleet assembling. The door slid open, and Zextal entered. The containment fleet departs now. Your request for time is denied. Why the rush? John demanded. An unauthorized ship left the station during maintenance, Zextal explained. It contained your fellow representative. The Council fears Earth is being warned. John kept his face neutral even as hope rose in his chest. Susan had made it. It doesn't matter, Zextal continued. The fleet will reach Earth before any warning can be acted upon. John smiled faintly. I wouldn't be so sure about that. The line had been drawn. Now it was time for humanity to erase it. Laura Bennett hadn't slept in 3 days. Dark circles shadowed her eyes as she moved between screens in the underground command center. Around her, military officers and scientists worked with focused intensity. Status report, she demanded, her voice rough from too much coffee and too little rest. Council fleet will enter our solar system in approximately 6 hours, reported Sam Wilson, her second in command. 17 ships total. 3 are planet-class vessels. Laura nodded. Earth's conventional defenses, missiles, fighters, orbital platforms would be useless against such advanced technology. But they weren't relying on conventional defenses. Operation Firewall status. All nodes are in place, replied Dr. Kathy Rogers, chief scientist of the initiative. The network is ready but untested. We've never attempted anything on this scale. Laura looked at the main screen showing small dots scattered throughout the solar system, quantum entanglement nodes hidden on various moons, asteroids, and orbital positions. For years, Earth had been preparing for this possibility, ever since their first unofficial contact 20 years ago, when a research team captured a damaged alien scout ship. We won't get a second chance, Laura said. Everyone to battle stations. This is not a drill. In space, the Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Leading the Armada was the Enforcer, a massive ship shaped like a crescent moon. On its bridge, Commander Draz of the Vraxian military caste studied the primitive solar system. Prepare the containment grid, he ordered. Begin deployment at the outer boundary and work inward. Ships moved into position, releasing thousands of small devices that began forming an energy network around the entire solar system. Sensors detect primitive defense satellites and vessels, reported his second. Nothing that poses a threat. The humans may have been warned, but they cannot stop us, Draz said confidently. Their technology is centuries behind ours. Back on Earth, Laura watched the alien fleet's movements on her screens. They're deploying the containment grid, Sam reported. Estimated completion in 30 minutes. Wait until they're fully committed, Laura ordered. Then activate Firewall. On Alan's ship, still 2 days from Earth, Susan watched the data feeds with growing anxiety. The Council fleet is already there, she said. Alan checked his instruments. We're too late to warn them. Maybe not, Susan replied. Look at these energy readings from Earth's orbit. They've already begun implementing countermeasures. Alan studied the screen. What exactly did you send them? Everything you showed me about Council shield technology, Susan explained, and some ideas of my own. In the command center, Laura watched as the final pieces of the alien grid locked into place. Grid is nearly complete, Sam reported. Energy levels rising. Laura took a deep breath. Activate Firewall. Now. Dr. Rogers pressed her palm against a scanner. Firewall activating. Throughout the solar system, The hidden quantum nodes activated simultaneously. Instead of creating a defensive shield, they generated a special type of quantum field, a technological dead zone that targeted specific energy frequencies. On the Enforcer, alarms blared as systems suddenly failed. "What's happening?" Draz demanded as lights flickered. "Unknown energy field disrupting our systems," his science officer reported frantically. "The containment grid is failing. Our weapons are offline." "Impossible," Draz snarled. "Their technology is too primitive." "Sir," his communications officer interrupted. "We're receiving a transmission from the planet." Laura's face appeared on their main screen. She looked tired but determined. "This is Director Laura Bennett of Earth's Defense Initiative. Your containment technology has been neutralized. Your weapons systems are currently disabled. We have no desire for conflict, but we will not be imprisoned in our own solar system." Draz stared in disbelief. "How did you?" "We've been preparing for this possibility for some time," Laura continued. "You should also be aware that we've dispatched our own fleet." This was a bluff. Earth had no such fleet, but Draz had no way of knowing that. "Return to the Council with this message," Laura said firmly. "Earth demands recognition as a sovereign system and equal treatment under galactic law. We will defend ourselves if necessary." The transmission ended. Draz turned to his second. "Retreat to safe distance. Regroup with the remainder of the fleet." "But sir, our orders were based on false assumptions." Draz finished. "The humans have technology we didn't account for. We need to reassess." As the Council ships withdrew to a safe distance, cheers erupted in Earth's command center. "It worked," Sam exclaimed. Laura allowed herself a small smile. "For now. But this is just the beginning. The Council won't give up easily." She looked at the retreating alien ships on her screen. 2 weeks after the Council retreat, Earth unveiled its secret, a small fleet of ships built using technology reverse-engineered from studying the Council's devices over the past 20 years. Hidden in underground facilities beneath the oceans, these 6 vessels represented humanity's first true interstellar fleet. Admiral Eric Donovan stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Defiance. At 55 years old, he had spent his career in the Navy before being recruited to the Defense Initiative 5 years ago. His weathered face showed the strain of recent weeks, but his blue eyes remained sharp and focused. "All systems green," reported his first officer, Kate Riley. "The fleet is ready for departure." Eric nodded. "Commence Operation Sunlight." The 6 ships rose from their underwater hangars around the globe, breaking through the ocean surface in spectacular plumes of water. People gathered on coastlines around the world, watching in awe as humanity took its first deliberate step into interstellar space. On the Council station, emergency meetings had been ongoing since the failed containment mission. John Miller sat in his quarters, now effectively a prisoner, when the door slid open. Alan Carter stepped in, wearing a guard uniform. "Time to go," Alan said quickly. "The station is in chaos after your people's little show of force. Security is focused elsewhere." John jumped to his feet. "Where's your ship?" "Docking Bay 12. Susan is already there." They moved through the corridors, passing aliens running in various directions. Alarms sounded intermittently. "What's happening?" John asked as they hurried along. "Earth's fleet has been detected leaving your solar system," Alan explained. "The Council is panicking. They never expected humans to have interstellar capability this soon." When they reached the ship, Susan was waiting at the airlock. She hugged John tightly. "You made it," she said. "I wasn't sure they'd let you live after I escaped." "They needed me as a bargaining chip," John replied. "Not that it helped them much." Once aboard, Alan quickly piloted the ship away from the station. No one pursued them. The Council had bigger concerns. "Where is Earth's fleet headed?" John asked. Susan brought up a star map. "They're not attacking military targets. They're going after the Council's information network." She pointed to several points on the map. "These are communication hubs. The fleet will disable them and broadcast the truth about the Council's suppression to all species. In deep space, the Defiance led the human fleet toward the nearest hub, a massive station in the Arcturus system that relayed Council communications to thousands of worlds. "We're approaching the target," Kate reported. Admiral Donovan studied the tactical display. "Any defense forces? 2 patrol ships. Nothing we can't handle." Donovan nodded. "Remember, minimal casualties. We're not here to start a war." The human ships moved into formation. The Council patrol vessels approached, weapons charged. "They're hailing us," said the communications officer. On screen, Donovan ordered. A Vraxian officer appeared, mandibles clicking in agitation. "Human vessels, you are in restricted space. Return to your system immediately or be destroyed." "We will not return to isolation," Donovan replied calmly. "We come with a message for all species under Council rule." He signaled to cut the transmission. "Deploy the disruptors." From each human ship, small drones launched toward the patrol vessels. Rather than weapons, they carried specialized devices that generated the same quantum field Earth had used against the containment fleet. The Council ship systems went dark as the field took effect. "Target the hub's communication arrays only," Donovan ordered. "Leave life support and other systems intact." Precision beams struck the massive space station, carefully disabling its ability to filter and control information without harming its inhabitants. Within minutes, the hub was open, its channels available for Earth's message. "Broadcast on all frequencies," Donovan said. Throughout the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, normal Council transmissions suddenly carried a different message. Evidence of the Council's systematic suppression of emerging species, their technology restrictions, and their fear of humanity's potential. "The line has been erased," Donovan said quietly as the message went out. "Now we see who answers. Prepare Phase 2. It's time to take the fight to them." Admiral Donovan's fleet hovered at the edge of the Proxima system, holding position near a massive gas giant. 6 Earth ships, each built using technology reverse-engineered from the Council's own designs, waited in formation. They looked small compared to Council vessels, but they carried something far more powerful than weapons: the truth. "We've received another transmission," reported Linda, his communications officer. "That makes 17 species requesting direct contact." Donovan nodded. Their broadcast had worked better than they had hoped. After capturing the Council's main communication hub in the Arcturus sector, they had used it to send evidence of the Council's systematic suppression to every known species in the galaxy. "Which one is this?" he asked. "The Lithians," Linda replied. "A silicon-based species from the Orion Arm. They've been under Council restrictions for over 3 centuries. "Put them through," Donovan ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing a crystalline being that seemed to glow from within. Its voice came through as a series of musical tones that the translator converted to English. "Earth vessel, we have received your transmission. The Council has restricted our quantum research for 10 generations. We wish to join your coalition." Donovan smiled. "We welcome your support. Representatives will contact you shortly with secure communication protocols." As the transmission ended, Kate approached with a datapad. "Sir, the Mer Collective and the Aurelis have also pledged support. That's 20 species total. And how many Council enforcement vessels converging on our position?" Donovan asked. "At least 30, sir. They'll be here within 12 hours. Donovan nodded. They couldn't win a direct fight against that many ships, but that had never been the plan. Back on Saturn's largest moon, Titan, John Miller worked in a hidden base built beneath the icy surface. The base served as humanity's diplomatic headquarters, safe from Council detection thanks to the quantum field generators that surrounded it. Susan entered his office, followed by representatives from 5 different species: the silicon-based Lithians, the aquatic Mer Collective, the gaseous Aurelis, and 2 others John didn't recognize. "The coalition is growing," Susan said. "These are the newest representatives." John stood and greeted each alien in turn, using the diplomatic protocols Alan had taught him. "We've drafted the initial framework for the Sovereignty Accord," John explained, displaying a holographic document. "A new approach to galactic cooperation based on mutual respect and technological sharing rather than restriction." The Lithian representative glowed more brightly. "Our scientists have already begun combining our quantum crystal technology with your entanglement theories. Together, we can advance further than the Council ever permitted." The Aurelus representative, a swirling cloud of colored gas contained in a special environment suit, spoke next. "Many mid-tier Council species secretly chafe under elder race restrictions. With evidence of suppression now public, they may join us." John nodded. "That's what we're counting on. This isn't just about human freedom. It's about freedom for all species to develop without artificial limitations." On the Council homeworld, emergency sessions continued as more reports arrived of species breaking away and joining the human coalition. Elder race representatives argued fiercely about how to respond. "We must crush this rebellion immediately," insisted Zeal of the Paraxian Commonwealth. "Use the Elder fleet to destroy the human vessels." Vorlex moved his massive body in disagreement. "Violence will only confirm their accusations. We must find another approach." An aide rushed into the chamber, interrupting the debate. "Urgent news. 7 mid-tier Council races have announced they are leaving the Council to join the human coalition." Shocked silence fell over the assembly. "Which ones?" Vorlex finally asked. "The Solari, the Driven Assembly, the Nyx Confederation." The list continued, each name representing a species with significant influence. "This is unprecedented," Vorlex said. "In 10,000 cycles, no race has ever left the Council." Zeal's skin darkened with anger. "The humans have destroyed millennia of careful balance in mere weeks. They must be stopped." "Perhaps," said a new voice, "it is time we listen to what they propose." All eyes turned to Kreth of the Tachyon Mines, oldest of the elder races. He rarely spoke at council sessions. "The old ways are failing," Kreth continued. "If so many species choose to leave rather than remain under our guidance, perhaps our guidance has become control." Across the galaxy, the lines that once divided species into hierarchies were being erased, replaced by new connections forming between equals. The Grand Council chamber looked different now. Where once only council representatives sat in their assigned hierarchical positions, today the room held delegates from over 30 species, both council members and those who had joined the human coalition. The emergency session had been called after 2 weeks of growing rebellion across the galaxy. John Miller stood on the central platform beside Susan Wright. They no longer felt small or intimidated by the massive chamber. Behind them stood Admiral Donovan, Alan Carter, and Laura Bennett, who had arrived from Earth 3 days earlier. "This special session of the Galactic Council is now open," announced Vorlex, though his voice lacked its usual authority. "We are here to address the situation." "You mean the collapse of your control," Susan said clearly. Her voice carried through the chamber without hesitation. Murmurs ran through the assembled representatives. Many nodded in agreement. "We prefer to call it an evolution," John added more diplomatically. "An opportunity for change that benefits all species." Zeal rose from his seat, his blue skin darkened with anger. "This is nothing but rebellion, fueled by human interference." "Is seeking freedom rebellion?" asked the representative of the Lithians, their crystalline form glinting as they spoke. "The Council has suppressed our quantum research for centuries, claiming it was for our own good, and restricted our atmospheric terraforming technology," added the gaseous Aurelus representative. One by one, representatives from different species stood and listed the ways the Council had held them back. Vorlex raised his massive limbs for silence. These restrictions were for the stability of the galaxy, to prevent conflict and chaos, or to prevent competition. Laura Bennett said, stepping forward, "Your own records show that elder races feared losing their position of power. The stability you claim to protect is just the stability of your control." Kreth of the Tachyon mines floated forward. As the oldest of the elder races, his word carried special weight. "Perhaps it is time we acknowledge a truth we have long avoided," he said, his voice echoing strangely as if coming from multiple places at once. "Our fear has become our prison. We restricted others out of fear of what they might become, and in doing so, we stopped our own evolution." Shocked silence fell over the elder race representatives. John stepped forward, activating a holographic display of a document. "We propose the Sovereignty Accord to replace the current council structure. Under this agreement, all species will have equal standing. Technology sharing will be encouraged rather than restricted. Development will be guided by cooperation, not control." "Impossible," Zeal declared. Younger species lacked the wisdom to handle advanced technology responsibly. Yet it was a younger species that breached your containment and disabled your ships without causing a single death, Admiral Donovan pointed out, while your council was ready to sterilize an entire planet out of fear. The truth of his words hung in the air. Vorlex studied the humans and their allies carefully. "And if we refuse this accord, then the coalition will form its own galactic body," John replied simply. "Already 32 species have signed, including 7 former council members. Others will follow. The choice is cooperation or isolation." Deliberations continued for hours. Arguments flared and tempers rose. But in the end, the reality was clear. The old system had already collapsed. "We will put the Sovereignty Accord to a full council vote," Vorlex finally announced. When the votes were tallied, 15 of the 21 council races approved the accord. The remaining 6, including Zeal's Paraxians, abstained but did not block it. As the session ended, John and Susan stood with their allies, watching as representatives mingled together, species that had been separated by artificial boundaries now freely exchanging ideas. "What happens now?" Susan asked. "We build something new," John replied. "Earth will host the first Sovereignty Conclave next month." Laura nodded. "The barriers are down. The lines have been erased." Later, as they prepared to return to Earth on the Defiance, Alan joined them on the observation deck. Together they watched the enormous council station, now being renamed the Galactic Concourse. "Not bad for primitives who weren't supposed to leave their solar system," Alan said with a smile. "Humanity's greatest strength was never our technology," John said. "It was our refusal to accept artificial limitations." As the Defiance turned toward Earth, Susan looked at the stars spreading out before them. "They crossed a line when they tried to cage us," she said quietly. "But instead of fighting back with weapons, we erased all their lines. Now no one will be caged again." The ship jumped to light speed, carrying them home to a galaxy forever changed.